Praise be to God, there is no other God except God. About 1/3 of the people of the world believe in astrology. And one of the reasons why it is so popular is because people assume that since it has been in existence for such a long time, and many people believe in it, it must be true. And the reason why it has existed for such a long time is because it started actually as a very small observation of truth. But then everything after that is false. In the past, before people knew about the orbit of the Earth and how the solar system works, all they knew is that for every time that the moon becomes new, the sun has moved further in the sky relative to the stars by 1/12 of the sky. And so they divided the sky into 12 parts. And to help identify those parts of the sky, they imagined shapes which those stars resemble, so they can remember them easier. And they called them constellations. Then they saw that there is a connection between when the sun is in a certain constellation and when the trees produce fruit, and when the leaves turn brown, and when it snows, and when the leaves emerge again, and things like that. Basically, they discovered seasons. Fine. Seasons, and when the sun is in a certain constellation, is actually the same thing. So far so good. But then everything after that was falsehood attached to it. They did not know how seasons work, so they just thought that those constellations are causing the leaves to fall, and things like that. And therefore the stars have an effect on Earth, because they cause leaves to change. And therefore they must have an effect on humans as well. And really, they just invented stuff and guesswork. And people believed in it. And now astrology is very popular. Now, of course, astrology, any kind of astrology, horoscopes, Indian astrology, Chinese astrology, any kind of astrology have been proven scientifically to be false. And no one was ever able to prove scientifically that it works. And actually, this is not why I'm speaking about it, because people are wrong about so many other things. We have laws, but I am talking about it because astrology is prohibited in the Bible and the Quran. Isaiah chapter 47 verses 13 through 14 says, "All the counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward. Those astrologers who make predictions month by month, let them save you from what is coming upon you. Surely they are like stubble. The fire will burn them up." Leviticus 19:26 says, "Do not practice divination or seek omens." Quran 4:11 says, "When it comes to your parents and your children, you do not know which of them is really the best to you and the most beneficial." This statement would have been false if people were just able to know the fate of their children based on the year and the date and the time when they were born. And Quran 72:27 says, "Only to a messenger that God chooses does he reveal from the past and the future specific news." And there are about 1 million astrologers in the world. So either God has sent 1 million astrologers as messengers, or all astrologers are liars. I already told you that all astrologers, according to Isaiah, are bad people, so they cannot be messengers, and therefore they are liars. So people who believe in astrology, but they do not believe in the Quran, they are simply misguided and under the influence of the devil. And if someone believes both in the Quran and astrology, then I can tell you that you are probably suffering from depression, anxiety, or similar difficulty. Because astrology and the Quran contradict each other. And if you believe in both of them at the same time, that can be only possible in such mental states like depression and anxiety, or similar psychological or social difficulties. And there is nothing wrong with depression or anxiety. About half of the people today experience them at least once in their lifetime. And towards the future, towards the end of the world, almost all people will at least once in their lifetime be diagnosed with depression or anxiety. So things like that happen. I'm just helping you identify the problems, because people with anxiety and depression are capable to believe two completely contradictory conspiracy theories at once. For example, they can believe that Tupac is still alive and that Tupac was killed by the CIA. And they believe both of them at the same time. This is documented by studies. This happens when people are emotionally unstable, which happens. They are not crazy. They just need emotional support. And you should try to seek help with the right professionals so you can get back on your feet emotionally. By the way, let's say that your belief is 70% strong in the Quran and 30% strong in astrology. If you get the right treatment by a professional, you will notice that by the end of it, both those beliefs will dwindle. The psychologist cannot help you become a believer. He will simply find a way to reduce both of your beliefs, the good belief and the bad belief. And eventually you will believe 0% in astrology and now only 40% in the Quran. But this is still better because now you know exactly where you stand in relation to the Quran without the astrology. And then gradually afterwards you start to improve your belief in the Quran back again while keeping the astrology part at 0%. And then you realize that you become a much more functional long-time submitter, less egocentric, and you will just feel better. It's possible. And by the way, if the situation is serious, I would even recommend you take some medication with prescription just to jumpstart your healing process, especially because people who encounter depression are absolutely convinced that it will never go away, which is not true. But that's why those people need to seek help. Because depression and anxiety convince you that they will never go away. And once you are convinced of that, then you get depressed because of that. And you enter a vicious cycle. In that case, outside help is needed just to break the cycle. So medication is useful in that case to at least make them believe that help exists. And then seek it, and then they can remove the medication or whatever the professional tells you. By the way, I don't agree with the way they use medications in the United States. Excessively and being constantly numb to avoid any bad feelings. You are supposed to feel things sometimes, including the bad feelings. It's called life. But also I don't agree with people who are categorically against those medications. The Quran says that there is a good and bad in them. And they are useful towards more serious cases to jumpstart the improvement. But the appropriate doctors most likely know better about this. And ultimately, of course, God is in control of everything, and He knows our fates.